Hello, everyone. This is Brian Lewis of the Spin Zone. Breaking news. A couple of breaking news headlines in the next 8 minutes or so. So, Daniel Jones getting cut by the New York Giants. Kind of inevitable after the Tom Pelissero quote from the 18th saying that the cap penalty and the dead cap savings are pretty much going to offset, probably 3 million difference there. So, that led with the whole Elle Duncan comments that the Giants executive, I think team vice president Pat Hanlon, took exception to, which is just bonkers to me. That came out like a very Mike Gundy, this I'm 40, I'm a man, I'm 40 kind of thing. And then they put Daniel Jones as a scout team safety yesterday in practice, and then Daniel Jones just walks out because he got demoted to the 13 quarterback behind Tim Boyle. He lost his captaincy. Now, John Mara has already announced, before I head into more of the Daniel Jones bit, of he wants to keep Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll on as the GM and the head coach. Now, I don't think they've been terrible considering, other than the fact they let Saquon Barkley go to the Eagles, bro. How do you let him go to the Eagles? Now, keep in mind the Giants did everything they could. They have done well. That defense is building. Dexter Lawrence, they have Brian Burns. They have pieces. Okay, they're getting there on defense. The offensive line's getting there. Andrew Thomas is an anchor. They have pieces there. The Giants just need to figure out why they didn't make this move last offseason when Kirk Cousins was available. Because if they got Kirk Cousins, inserted Kirk Cousins on that team, kept Saquon Barkley, right? You could have had Cousins and Barkley, and you know what? That team probably would be first place in your freaking division right now because the Cowboys suck. The Commanders have a rookie quarterback, and the Eagles are heading down a downslide over the next couple of years that we're not even going to know the catastrophic measures of because it's not happening yet. But the Eagles are about to probably have a collapse within the next 2 seasons or so. So the Giants are in no position right now to compete in that division. There's no competition in that division right now. So the Eagles are going to have the narrative until Bill Belichick or someone of that nature gets hired of the Cowboys and they start hyping the Cowboys again. So the hard knock quote of we can't have our $40 million quarterback hand off to a $12 million running back, that's going to live in Saquon Barkley's mind for the next 10 years. That's going to live in Giants' minds forever. I mean, I don't know what's worse right now. I mean, I was saying in the last episode with Adam Portrait that the Giants letting go of Saquon Barkley was bad. Mookie Betts leaving the Red Sox was bad. That's about the same. Both teams are made a mistake. And you know what's crazy? The Red Sox are going after Juan Soto to overcompensate for that mistake. And the Giants are going to have to overcompensate for letting go of Saquon Barkley because they just cut their quarterback mid-season. Mid-freaking-season. You know? So, again, the Giants care more about their public relations than winning football games. Giants fans can be mad at it. That's the facts. Plenty of media proof, the media coverage, everything proves it. They care more about how they appear. And the Packers in the NFC are the same exact way. They've run the same exact way. So it's not like they're any different than the Packers at this point. They're not going anywhere. Neither team's winning a Super Bowl in the next 20 years. Have a good night. Now, enough with the Giants. A little bit more recruiting news. So, two quarterbacks, two highly rated recruits, Julian Lewis and Bryce Underwood, both were previously committed. You know, Bryce Underwood was at LSU and Julian Lewis was at USC. Now, USC had a coaching change. Not coaching change, sorry. Quarterback change. Lincoln Riley's not fired yet. They'll probably keep him. So with Jada Maeva taking over as a quarterback, it may have stunted this decision from Julian Lewis to commit to Colorado, where Shedeur Sanders is going to be exiting for the NFL after this season, with Travis Hunter, who's a likely Heisman Trophy finalist. So with all that being said, the Miller Moss quarterback change plays a big factor into this because Julian Lewis could go into it and saying, okay, well, Maeva's a backup quarterback. If Maeva's going in as an incumbent next year, Julian Lewis knows he's going to be the quarterback number 2. Some USC fans can interpret it as he's afraid of competition. I view it as in today's NIL era of college football, why are you going to choose to sit on the bench unless you're an Arch Manning and money's not a factor? Why are you going to choose to sit on the bench when you can go to another Division I school, have a big year, and head back in the portal and still go back to that school 2 years later? This is a hustle now. The NIL and the transfer portal have made college football a hustle. You look at Tommy Castellanos at BC. is going to be on the transfer portal. He's going to be available out there. So he's going to be one of the options. And there's a few others, but he's just the most notable one. So, and that's something that in the next episode, in the chat that I'll have with Stanley coming soon, teasing this next bit here. We're also having a few guests. So I have reached out to a few people, Stanley being a longtime friend of mine, just trying to get a bunch of people as possible and going from there. So Bryce Underwood, because we'll talk about Castellanos in a Boston bit later on. For Bryce Underwood, LSU, now Brian Kelly has basically turned himself into the James Franklin of the SEC, where they're not winning any big games. That Alabama win year one, some people will look at it and say, I think he'll let Brian Kelly think he got a little full of himself, maybe, but Brian Kelly's a different kind of coach. Again, Notre Dame aside, LSU aside, he's a good coach. I just think LSU is in over his depth. Losing Bryce Underwood to Michigan, the Barstool power, the $12.5 million offer, it's hard to say no, right? So Michigan's having a tough season. They've had a quarterback change. They had a coaching change. And never mind the fact that just Michigan, it's a tough place when you win a national title, you lose pretty much your whole offense to the NFL. Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy, they lost a couple of those receivers as well. So they lost a good chunk of guys. That's tough to deal with, and I'll admit that. And when Oregon and all the other Pac-10 schools moved into the Big Ten this year, it created the hardest schedule conflict, especially for the West Coast schools coming to the Central and the Central teams going out West, because the travel time has got to be a factor too. Now, Bryce Underwood getting $12.5 million at Michigan, how's that impact? Because he's probably going to be a starting quarterback next year. So this puts both Colorado and Michigan in the position to make big-time portal acquisitions, depending on who hits the portal. Now, Ohio State created a blueprint, if you will, of how to attack the portal, because they were able to get Quinshon Judkins, they were able to get Caleb Downs. So they were able to get a couple of key players there. Indiana did a good job on the portal in terms of bringing like Chignetti's guys from James Madison. So there's a couple examples that are successful this year. Illinois is in the top 25 as well in the Big Ten. So if Michigan could just stay steady with Underwood, it might take until a sophomore year to really get them going. But Michigan are in play. Now, teasing the next episode here, and in the next couple of hours, I'm going to be dropping out some pick'ems, if you will. I'm not going to cover the Friday games that are soccer games because I obviously didn't have enough time to do that. But we are going to cover some of the Saturday pick'ems, and I'll cover some of the stories as well going around soccer, the breaking news stuff, because, again, that's where I'm going to try to break down to it, a lot of transfer portal stuff. And Riding Solo will also tease and talk about the next podcast episodes. So stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast with the link below. Follow along. Hit me up. Let's go. Let's do something.